so how can we make today's generation go to temples with willingness? And I think those two are kind of tied together. So I wanted to start off with Brahmacharya Niji on your thoughts regarding these questions.
So I'll start by saying that if I didn't have the why, I definitely would not have been on this path, right? Because I did grow up here and I asked why every step of the way, irrespective of my background with my parents or, my mission. If I never got something that sat well in myself with conviction, I couldn't. So I think my parents have a lot of credit when it comes to samskaras, and then Chinmaya Mission gave me the reason. So what do we do in Chinmaya Mission Austin to address this? Well, firstly, with Ganesh Chaturthi, we have all of the kids perform the puja step by step. We have our panditjis inside, and they are chanting, and they do it, and then the kids watch, and they also do puja, and I explain every step with them. And somebody told me it was so sweet to see their 5-year-old offer a banana to a Ganeshji and say, it's his birthday, he needs it, and then eat it, because that's the love and bhakti that we're trying to develop at a young age, right? So we have that for the young kids. And then we have Balavihar classes. Why do we do is an actual book that we have. And then for our J-Chicks or 9th through 12th grade, we have a series of camps. We have lock-ins, and we ask them to bring topics to the table that they've had questions about for a long time. And we talk about caste, we talk about Hindu phobia, we talk about how to adjust to expectations of this country versus what our parents have. And it's been very enlightening for me. I've learned a lot from them. And then I also see a lot of myself in their questions. So that's what we do for the youth. And then once they graduate from here, we have something called Chinmaya Yuva Kendra. And they are the sevaks that run a lot of the events we have at our temple. Most of the sevaks that came for Shivratri a few years ago were all college kids that grew up, understanding and wanting to be involved with the abhishekams, with the pujas and rituals. There was meaning in it, and there was science in it. And I think the best thing that parents can do when kids have those questions is when they don't know, actually say, I don't know. Let's look for the answer together. Because that's when we seek the truth, and there is an answer for everything in Sanatana Dharma. There is nothing that's done on a whim, right? So yes, we value tradition, but at the same time, we can say, I don't know, but let's figure it out together. And at that point, we're doing we're better representing our humility and our Sanatana Dharma while learning along with the kids. And I teach adult classes while the kids are in Balavihar, and it's been amazing to see that bridge, kind of come closer and closer together from both ends. And I also visit people's homes for piksha, so lunch or dinner piksha, and we have all of these conversations in their homes, and that really helps the generations kind of bridge and connect with each other. So there's a lot we can do, there's a lot we're doing, and it has been helpful, and I've seen it. I've seen so many of us come back, people from my generation who have kids, bringing their kids and learning along with their kids. And they say that after 4 or 5 years, that there's so much we didn't know, and we're so glad to be learning from our kids the meaning behind all of this stuff.
Shrey, if you don't mind answering the same questions about what mandirs can do to be more inviting to youth and how to get youth to go to mandirs more willingly.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this question because growing up, this was, my parents' battle. And over the next few years, I have a baby girl now. I know it's going to be my challenge as well. And it's funny to see how our perspectives change. Growing up, similar to how, everyone has stated so far, the youth have so many questions, as did I. And there were people who answered those questions with, just do it, it'll make sense. don't ask questions. And then there were people who treated kids like adults. And they made it a journey to not only build our curiosity, but to also deepen our understanding of why things are the way they are. And I think one takeaway that I've had growing up is that when kids have questions, we have to treat them as adults, right? They know so much more than we did when we were their age because of the internet and the world and how everyone talks about things. And so if we don't treat them like adults, if we don't treat them with respect, how are we going to expect them to be interested? And then B, how are we going to expect them to have any sort of excitement about the positive and beautiful thoughts that our culture has? You know, and in addition to that, as we are questioned and we are asked why we do certain things, there are going to be times when we realize that, man, you know, those traditions, they might slightly be outdated, right? Or there may be a more appropriate way to celebrate it and do it now. And I love how Bhakti ji said that she celebrates Raksha Bandhan with, you know, not just her brothers, but her sisters and people that, you know, she wants to value that relationship with. And a lot of times, one of the big turnoffs for me and for a lot of the kids that I work with has been when the elders get defensive, or when the people who are in charge say that, hey, like, just don't worry about it right now, it'll make sense, or like, who do you think you are to ask us these questions, right? That kind of defensiveness does not deepen our love for our culture. And I think, you know, one example really comes to mind for me is that, so when I was getting married, the pujari that did our wedding, the priest, he had us sit down, me, my wife, and both of our families, sit down before the wedding to kind of do a walkthrough and to explain to us that, hey, I'll explain things that we're doing during the ceremony as well, but I want to go in a little bit more detail with you guys on why we're doing certain things. So traditionally, at least with what I've seen with a lot of Gujarati weddings, is that we usually have we walk around the fire 4 times. And 3 of those times, for Dharma, Artha, and Kam, the male is leading the loop around the fire. And the 4th one, it's the female that leads it. Now, this priest was like, look, back in the day, this may have been more applicable because it was the man who worked, it was the man who led certain parts of their lifestyle. But today, men and women do the same exact thing, right? Women go to work full time, men help with the children, right? There's equal responsibilities. And so he was a big proponent of, let's do 7 circles around the fire, where I led 3, my wife led the same 3. So dharma for me, dharma for her, right? And then the 7th one, we both walked together. And I think that just made so much sense to me, the fact that he was able to say, look, something we did back then made sense at that time, but now times have changed. How can we take that same thought and apply it to today's context? And I think that is such a powerful ability, is to find innovative ways to make our culture connect to the people in this next generation. And a lot of times without that, it seems like a foreign concept. It seems like the priests are people we can't understand. It seems like the elders are people who don't want to listen. But if we have that kind of connection, or that ability, adaptability to keep our mindset and reasoning the same, but maybe alter the rituals based on what makes sense today, I think that's a very key component to keeping youths interested and knowledgeable on what we do and why.
I think Shrey gave a great, basic understanding of like what's going on, what's, the phenomenon that's going on. I think from, my colleague perspective, my own perspective, a big way to propagate, more youth to come to the temple is what I like to call by the youth for the youth, right? So you're having greater youth involvement, and it's coming from the perspectives of people who, have gone through. So for instance, for me, growing up in the temple myself, having those perspectives of, I grew up in the American culture, or as opposed to I grew up in X, Y, and Z. I grew up in India. I grew up, elsewhere. being able to have that sense of relatability to your colleagues or to those younger than you, and also opening up conversations, right, about how is Hinduism now relevant to us? Why should we care about, these wonderful teachings within our religion, and how can we apply that within our, within our mandirs, within ourselves now? And this can be, whether it be through something like a youth group where someone slightly older is talking to the younger generations and having, non-judgmental conversations on what's going on. Or this can be something like, oh, we're all banding together and organizing like a service. So a cause that we care about, and we're doing it via the temple because it, reflects what our values hold. So being able to bring these relevant